I still remember that first night. I wasn't supposed to feel anything. This was just a job. Yet, when he pulled me close, pressing his lips against mine, the world blurred into nothing but his touch. His hands moved over my body, gentle yet firm, as if he already knew every curve, every hidden place that longed for his attention. It was intoxicating. He kissed me like he was stirred for something deeper, like he was searching for something that had been missing. For a brief, stolen moment, I let myself believe that this wasn't just a game, that he wanted me, needed me just as much as I was beginning to want him. When we finally pulled apart, breathless and tangled in the sheets, he looked at me in a way that left me shaking. There was vulnerability in his eyes, a longing I hadn't expected. I should have reminded myself of why I was really here. Instead, I kissed him, deeper this time, like I was afraid it might be the last. I'm not proud of how it all began. My name is Mia, and I was hired by a woman named Rachel, a striking, confident millionaire wife who seemed to have everything except trust in her marriage. Rachel approached me with a strange proposition. She wanted me to test her husband, Aaron. Her suspicion was clear. She needed to know if he would be unfaithful, even with a beautiful woman thrown into his path. It was an odd request, but the money she offered was hard to refuse. The plan was simple. I'd meet Aaron by chance, flirt a little, and see if he took the bait. I was supposed to seduce him, confirm her fears, and walk away. But from the moment I laid eyes on him, I knew this wasn't going to be simple. We first met at a cafe near his office. I accidentally bumped into him, spilling my drink. He was charming, apologetic, and genuinely kind. The kind of man who looks you in the eyes when he speaks, making you feel like you're the only person in the room. There was an unexpected connection, a spark I hadn't felt in years. I told myself it was part of the act, but deep down I knew better. Our meetings became more frequent. A coffee here, a lunch there. He started opening up to me, sharing stories about his life, his passions, his marriage. He spoke about Rachel with a mix of love and frustration, describing her as distant and preoccupied with their lavish lifestyle. He missed the simpler times, he said, before the money and the expectations. One rainy evening, he invited me over to his office to have a drink after work. I knew it was the moment Rachel had been waiting for. If he made a move, it would be the proof she needed. I was supposed to encourage it, to lean in and make it easy for him. But when he finally kissed me, it didn't feel like a betrayal. It felt like everything I had secretly been craving. Real, raw, and full of unspoken emotions. The first time it happened, it wasn't planned. We were sitting in his car after a long dinner, where every look and touch between us felt charged with an unspoken desire. I knew this was the moment Rachel wanted, the moment I was supposed to test him. But as we sat there in the dim light, the rain pattering softly against the windows, everything felt different. He reached over and gently cupped my face, his thumb tracing my lips as if he were memorizing the feel of them. I couldn't resist anymore. I leaned into his touch and he kissed me, slow at first, like he was savoring every second. The kiss deepened and suddenly, the air inside the car became electric. He pulled me closer, his hands sliding down my back as I melted into him. I could feel his heartbeat pounding against my chest, matching the wild rhythm of my own. We fumbled our way into the backseat, unable to stop ourselves. Our bodies pressed together in a way that felt both urgent and inevitable. He kissed me everywhere, my neck, my collarbone, leaving a trail of fire in his wake. It was like he was worshipping me, and I had never felt anything so intense. In that moment, there was no test, no plan, just us, lost in the storm outside and the storm we had created between us. It was over too soon, but as we lay there, tangled together, catching our breath, he looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. Raw, unguarded. I'd never felt this way before, he whispered, almost to himself. I wanted to say something, to tell him that I felt it too, but I was scared of what it meant. Instead, I just kissed him again, holding onto him like I was afraid he might slip away. And maybe I was, because deep down I knew I was already falling for him, and this was no longer just a job. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop. That night, it wasn't about Rachel's test or the money. It was about the way he made me feel, seen, desired, like I was the only woman he wanted. The next day, the guilt hit me hard. I left before he woke up, unable to face the man I was starting to fall for. I felt sick thinking about Rachel, knowing I'd crossed the line I couldn't cross. When she called me for an update, I lied, saying nothing happened. I couldn't bring myself to hurt him, even if it meant betraying her. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself spending more time with Aaron, caught in a web of my own making. He seemed happier, more alive, and I knew I was the reason. He had fallen for me just as much as I had fallen for him, but he didn't know the truth, that I was the test he was never supposed to pass. One day, Rachel invited me over to her mansion for what I assumed was a casual chat. But the moment I stepped inside, I realized something was off. She had a sly smile, one that made me uneasy. We sat down in her elegant living room, and she handed me a glass of wine. "So, how's it going?" she asked, her eyes cold and calculating. "Have you seduced him yet?" I tried to play it off, but my voice betrayed me. "Nothing happened. He loves you, Rachel. He's a good man." Her smile widened, like a predator that had just cornered its prey. "I know you're lying, Mia. I had you followed. I've seen the photos." My heart sank. She knew everything. The night we'd spent together, the kisses, the laughter, she had seen it all. I felt exposed, like a puppet whose strings had been cut. "You were supposed to prove he was a cheater," she said, her voice venomous. "Instead, you fell in love with him. How pathetic." Tears stung my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "Yes, I did. And so did he. Because you stopped loving him a long time ago, Rachel. You pushed him away, and I was there to catch him." Rachel's expression hardened, and she stood up, towering over me. "You were nothing but a tool, Mia. A pawn in my game, and now you've lost." I got up to leave, but she grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "If you go to him, if you tell him the truth, I'll ruin you both. You think he'll forgive you when he finds out you were hired to seduce him? He'll hate you." Her words cut deep because I knew there was truth in them. I walked out of that mansion feeling shattered, knowing I had two choices. I could tell Aaron everything and risk losing him forever, or I could walk away and live with regret. In the end, I chose to leave. I disappeared from his life without a word, hoping he'd never find out the truth. I heard through the grapevine that he and Rachel patched things up, that they were working on their marriage. Maybe it was for the best. Maybe I was just a momentary distraction, a wake-up call they needed. But even now, months later, I can't forget the way he looked at me, the way he made me feel like I was the only one. I keep replaying those stolen moments in my mind, wondering if he ever thinks of me too. It was just supposed to be a test, but in the end, I was the one who failed.